Aloha and welcome to Hope for Hawaii, a heartfelt podcast series. Created by Sarah, a stress expert with roots in Hawaii and residing on the ninth island of Las Vegas. Her deep connection to both places has woven a unique tapestry of inspiration, love, and support for our Hawaiian community.
Welcome to Hope for Hawaii. I'm your host and stress expert, Sarah. We are here to offer a guiding light through this dark time. Our podcast, Hope for Hawaii, is a heartfelt endeavor, born to inspire those affected by the Maui fires and anyone else navigating adversity. Through heartwarming stories, our storytellers will give practical tools, help nurture you, and help you create resilience and foster a strong sense of community. And for those who share the spirit of aloha. Enjoy Hope for Hawaii. Hello and welcome to another episode of Hope for Hawaii. I am your host, Sarah, and today is really, really special because not only are we going to hear about more hope, more resilience, we're going to do a special 3-part series with my next guest. And, I've known her for just about a year now, and I've seen her do so many amazing and wonderful things. She is a dynamic person who she is the founder of Ocean Trawler Snorkeling. She is living on Oahu. She helps people with free diving and breakthrough breathing. And she's worked with some amazing people, first responders. She's worked with movie sets. I can share, she's worked on Avatar, okay? And she's just a dynamic person. So how we're going to do this is we're going to know a little bit more about Jackie. We're going to hear what she does and how she helps to instill hope. But she's also in this very special and unique position where she's done a lot of great things to help gather some greatness, and I'll let her share this, for directly to you folks or anybody that's on Maui. And so we're going to do a second segment of her being there and how she can connect to the folks and what the folks really need. And then we're going to wrap it up on our third series, of third time together, to wrap up the small little series with Jackie live and in person, as we're going to be on Oahu to connect and be able to side by side have this discussion. So I'm so thrilled to have you here, Jackie. Please tell everybody a little bit about you. Yes.
Yeah, I'm Jackie Troller, the founder of Ocean Trawler Snorkeling and Freediving, and also Breakthrough Breathing, where I help people breathe better for high performance sports. And I've trained Red Bull teams, water rescue units, and just like Sarah said, on set of Avatar, The Way of Water. So it's been such a privilege to help people tap into and improve their respiratory system for breath holding, increasing their lung volume, and to improve their performance times in high performance sports settings. And I love that my whole journey has brought me to breathing, starting with freediving. That was my intro into the breathing world. And then to find it's a rabbit hole and how it full circles into aloha, like it's so powerful. The knowledge that the Hawaiians know of the breath. And I just have such great respect for the culture that aloha is sharing spirit through breath and really honoring that connection. I'm not Hawaiian, but just through my own studies of breath work, I can really get behind the true meaning of aloha. So, just trying to support the communities in the best way possible.
Yeah, and your endeavors have led you to become part of the island and to, work with so many different people on different levels. And that's been amazing. And I know that you have a great heart because, in our conversations, we've talked about that way before any of this tragedy has happened. and I have so much respect for you respecting the culture and, and the surroundings and especially of nature. So, in your endeavors, just share briefly a little bit about a story of hope, something that a difficult thing that you've dealt with and how you've gotten past that.
Yeah, I think the most challenging part of this whole thing has been getting mixed messages from social media. And so it's kind of this crazy thing because you can feel the energy of what happened in Lahaina has affected all of the islands. And I mean, lately it feels very sleepy here on Oahu. And I really feel like our hearts are all going out to Lahaina continuously, and other areas on Maui that have been affected by the fires, what is cool is to see everyone rally behind Maui on Oahu. Specifically, like I've seen positive graffiti art, Maui Strong in Chinatown. I've gone to a reggae event in support of Maui, the Yacht Club. So it's a very fascinating story. That really hits home for the sailors is usually we're doing the Lahaina Return, which is a race to Maui, which happens over Labor Day weekend. So there's been huge support from the Oahu sailing community. We've done a couple events now where a lot of the proceeds are going to Maui. So we just transformed our race. Usually it's to Maui and then racing back to Oahu, but we did a race around the island instead with a lot of the proceeds going to Maui. So it hits home, especially for the sailing community, seeing that harbor and all of the boats just get completely destroyed, and the winds, how high the winds were, it just made for difficult decisions. So yeah, our hearts really go out, and it's been interesting trying to navigate, like, do I go over there? Do I not go over there? Some people say don't go. And now in talking to friends there and even some friends' family there, they're like, yeah, you got to go pay respect. And if you got the heart for it and the time for it, and I would love to volunteer and just kind of fill some of the gaps. There's been a lot of great organizations that have been donating. There's been a lot of donations, but then the other side of that is you see like some items that have been donated that aren't really appropriate. So you kind of see how things need to be sifted and sorted, and obviously that there's going to be gaps. So anyway, I can go over there and kind of support fulfilling gaps. And this is a marathon. It's not over tomorrow. So just kind of continuously checking in with Maui and seeing what is appropriate to give to them. And I think most importantly, honoring and giving an ear to, which this podcast is, to anyone who wants to share a story. Because I mean, anytime we go through the grieving process, ensuring that we're allowing a proper grieving process for these people, because it's a lot of emotions, and it's a lot to process. And so in losing everything, like, it's so great that you guys are providing a platform that will allow people a place to share. So yeah, I would say, like, through the challenges, just seeing the local communities really coming together and supporting and getting behind Maui, that's been such a beautiful thing to see.
Yeah, and to your point, there's so much that can be done, and where do you start, right? And you want to be respectful, and so you have the two spectrums of people going, hey, go, hey, don't go. And everybody needs something different. And sometimes we need something different at different times. There's times where we want to be filled up. Sometimes we want to have space and be alone. We want to help the economy, but then we want to respect the land. Like, there's so many different sides of it. And again, everyone's perspective is different. And, as as a massage therapist, and you're in the wellness field and becoming a massage therapist as well, is that, when we can give touch, when we can give a hug, when we can connect to somebody on a physical level, it helps. When we can just, have open arms and not even embrace, but just going, hey, my hands are here. I've got the space for you. Be close, be further, whatever that is. And I know that, again, everyone has that different process. And you mentioned the grieving process. We know that the grieving process can be a long process, and some people don't complete it. Some people linger on to it. They're just having a conversation with another guest about, losing a child, and how sometimes, it stays with you, and you can get to different levels of grief and work through it. So just like you were talking about, and, it's going to be the long haul. And that's why, thank you for acknowledging, because what we want to really do is, it's not just a, do this for right now. It's come listen to this, come watch this when you need it, listen to it over again, share it with somebody who needs it tomorrow, today, yesterday, and, just continue to give and give however you can. And so thank you, Jackie, because I know you're doing that. So tell us a little bit about, you've gathered some supplies, you've done some things, you've got some great people that have donated their resources. And one of your resources that you have that ability to go across to Maui, and you're about to do that. So just tell us briefly about that.
Yeah. So I was kind of in this weird space with Maui. Like, I was definitely sending my love to them and my boyfriend's company. They had one of the first boats to make it over there, and he donated supplies right away. And then it was interesting to see how some of those supplies wasn't offloaded for days after. And so, like, you're making these efforts, and then to see them like get kind of stopped, and then you're like, okay, just have faith that the organizations there are going to get it going and available to people. And then even in doing these events, I was like, all right, have faith, have faith. And I wasn't really feeling called to go over there until I was in a coffee shop. I think it was about 2 weeks ago now. And there was this guy who's just like bummed out and slouching and like staring at his coffee. And I asked him how he was doing. He's like, I just got back from Maui last night. And he was there for 7 days helping set up Wi-Fi centers because some people couldn't access the forms they needed to get the supplies they needed. And just like feeling, he felt so heavy. And so I was like, man, since I am certified in certain healing modalities, I really would love to go over there with the highest intentions of just bringing a lighter energy there. And I know I'm not going to come back fully charged, but if I can go over there and just give some love and space, an ear to listen to, just someone to hug, just to try and lift some of that heaviness, and just like this podcast is hope, just provide a little more hope, because I think that the unseen that can be felt to lift some of that heaviness is very profound in this time.
Yeah, I certainly agree. And there's certain times where, people are stronger, and we can be stronger, in a certain moment. And then at any given time, facing this tragedy and facing, hard times, that can change in a second. And having that support, having that community, we've already seen so much wonderful support, and there's only so much that people can do to sustain that. Like you said, we need it for the long haul. So folks like you that are going over, 5-6 weeks later and beyond, it's just really going to continue to perpetuate, lifting folks up. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, and I love that other practitioners have already been doing some rounds flying there to do acupuncture and massage therapy as well. So I really, the health and wellness and just spirit, filling the spirit with love, I think is super important, even beyond the material donations.
Yeah, and we say that there's three big resources that we all have, right? We all have time, money, and time, money, and energy. Excuse me, time, money, and energy. And when difficult times happen, you see GoFundMe, you see like donate here, donate there, and which is very, very important. Please, if you have the means, donate to whatever causes you feel appropriate. But we have other resources, giving your time, giving your energy. And when we can do that in a different way and then fill ourselves back up and then give more energy to somebody else to use it, that really goes a long way. So there's all of those different ways to help. And sometimes we feel helpless, thousands of miles away going, I'm not on the ground. I'm not able to do this. Or you're in your own financial situation where, giving hundreds or thousands of dollars is not, something you can do. So, to be able to give a little bit of your resources, that provides hope.
Absolutely. And so in feeling this heaviness from this guy who went over there and being like, wow, like if I can just lighten up the energy a little bit, in sharing that story, I had a bunch of friends and family from the mainland reach out, and they were just going to donate to some organizations that like you see advertised in every major coffee shop. Like there's some organizations that have been donated to, and I trust that that money is going to transfer properly. But it was just this opportunity where it was like, if we can take it's not even that much money. It's like $1,100. But for me to take that money over there and like give it to a restaurant that is supplying fresh meals, or just like finding a little gap that has been underserved as far as donations. And then those people who donated kind of get a more direct experience of like who they're helping. So even though we didn't raise a ton of money, it's just, I think it's more fulfilling too for the donors to be like, okay, it's not just going in a pot where I don't know it's going to make a difference. Like they get to actually connect with their donation, which I think that energy exchange makes it more powerful too.
Yeah, for sure. And, when the big organizations get donations and they give certain things like food, it has to be non-perishable because, you have to be able to put it on the shelf because it doesn't get to people right away. And that makes sense. But then there's that gap that you're talking about. And that gap is, if you're used to having salads, if you're used to having, fresh fruit from the trees around you and from the land and from your farm and, all of these, or your garden, and then you don't have it, your body starts to go through something different. And that can be detrimental, inside. And, when we have, the minimal things for survival, sometimes we can't be choosy about what kind of food we have. But when you can provide something that's fresh and nutritious, when you can, make sure that your funds go to helping in that way, that makes a world of difference to those folks that are on the receiving end of that. So that's a beautiful gap to be able to help fill.
Yeah. Yeah. And just honoring the local businesses that are struggling now because there's parked rental cars. Some people say it's worse than COVID with how many rental cars are parked on the side of the street. And like, I'm not, the people who lost their business and lost their homes eventually, in good faith, they will, get the money back to hopefully rebuild. But I think one thing that's been not addressed directly are the businesses that just survived COVID, have not had their stuff burned, so they're not going to get any insurance money or anything, but then they've lost the stimulus, the income from any sort of tourism. So it's like, I know for me as a small business in Hawaii, it's super quiet, and I'm doing worse this year than last year. And to feel for the businesses of Maui who just survived COVID and now aren't necessarily going to be covered by insurance or anything else for these losses just due to the lack of tourism and in income. So yeah, thinking of everyone there, the ones who lost loved ones, families, all the way to the business owner who is now struggling.
Yeah, there's so much, and we don't want to see anybody fall through the cracks in any of that. And it's hard to know where those cracks are. And, you can, like you talked about faith and, however, when more folks get that information and not necessarily go over there, like you are, but when we get the information and go, okay, those folks need more toothpaste or, sanitary supplies or, those little things, it's so important. And, people that don't have that resource right now, is there a tip or a technique that you can show so that people can help get through this right now?
Yeah. So with breath work, especially when someone's in, the way I run my breathwork techniques is I match it with emotional momentum. So emotional momentum totally matters. It's not about, oh, just breathe, because just breathing might not be the proper cue for the emotional momentum that has built up behind that person's thoughts, feelings, emotions, the energy that's built up behind that person's thoughts, feelings, emotions. And so I would say for this case where there's been a severe interruption in people's ability to survive, like their home is gone and they may have lost loved ones, I would say that's a high momentum. So I would refer firstly to what I call these energy disruptors or these anxiety disruptors. And that for me would be to inhale like you're filling your belly from the bottom up as water fills a bucket from the bottom up. So you're visualizing the air filling your air tank just as water would fill a bucket. Inhaling with the mouth. And you're sipping like you're sipping through a boba straw or like a milkshake straw, pretending like there's some sort of resistance. Imagining sending that air down to the bottom. And as it fills up in the belly, it's going to overflow into the chest. And you get to the top and holding with a max breath hold at the top until you start to feel your muscles melt from top to bottom. So there will be a point in that breath hold where your muscles will start relaxing because your body's like, oh, we need to release tension because we're in a breath hold and we want to maximize sharing oxygen. And then once you feel those muscle groups melt, going back to breathing whatever is normal for you.
Oh, yeah, that makes such a difference. And for those of us that are certified in scuba, when we're getting low on our tank and we start going, instead of having that panic breath, right?
Yeah.
You breathe into it. And I've never done that like that on land. So, wow, that just allowed me to slow it down and to keep that inhale a lot longer. So,
and you never want to hold your breath on scuba, but breathe like starting with some of the breathing techniques that I've been trained in, especially for freediving techniques, I went through from being like this nervous, like skip breather and accidentally skip breathing like that, like, this is awkward. I wasn't the last one, or sorry, I wasn't the first one to run out of air, but I wasn't the last one to have air in my tank. And, the breathing technique I just shared is just the beginning, but as you learn more breathing techniques, it can definitely help you extend your tank time. And your ability to breathe in a relaxed state with a tank without having that, like, what's going on?
Yeah. And it's kind of like that, with our viewers, our listeners, for just that filling up with that breath and being able to relax your muscles in such a way, that's a great technique to utilize as we're in that space of, I don't know what to do. And, like, what's next for me? And,
it's a great exercise to get out of your mind. So when you go into that breath hold, your body's like refocusing on your body instead of the thoughts. When you're in that breath hold, it's like, okay, we're going to reprioritize what we're focused on. Yeah. And there's a breath hold happening. What's going on?
And when we have that deprivation, right? I mean, our body starts going to that fight or flight and that survival, right? And then so instead of, oh, what am I having? Like, oh, I don't have enough time for this, or I've got this on my to-do list. Your body goes back to like, hey, that stuff doesn't matter, right? Let's focus on what's right here. We got to breathe.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's very important. So thank you for sharing that. I think that's a great way to bring it down to a level of, okay, what's important for us, and to kind of bring this back around to, what's next, what's the hope, what's the future for, our community, our friends, family in Hawaii and on Maui, that there is more. There is sustainable support. It looks different ways, and just know that you're being supported from different avenues. And, return back to this podcast, return back to, the people that are there. And some of the people aren't going to be there all of the time. They need to fill themselves up too. So it's going to be different people at different times. And, if you're open to that, accept that support. Hopefully, we can do it in different ways. So I'm so super excited that you have the ability and time and resources to be able to get to the island, to be on Maui. And, we're going to have the second segment with you where you respectfully go in and be able to help some of the folks that are listening, some of the folks that are affected, and in your best possible way. So we're going to check in with you during that time and have another podcast, because I think this is going to be super helpful for folks. And for those that aren't on the island that want to support in a different way, hearing and seeing what else that they can do, what else you guys can do to help. So thank you so much, Jackie. I'm so excited to be able to share this with you.
Yeah. And looking forward, it gets easy to get caught up in the destruction. And I really love how you ended and brought it full circle. Like, this is a time, even though it may not feel appropriate, and we do have to address the grieving process first, but then, cycling back and being like, getting the locals to envision what they want Lahaina and some of these areas affected by the fires to look like in the future, and planting those seeds in their mind now. I know it might be too soon for some people, but when people are ready, it starts with the mind. The seeds start with the mind, to just envision a more community-based government. Like, whatever was lacking before, now is the time to grow those seeds for the compelling and beautiful future of Lahaina as the people want to see it.
Yeah. And if you're Hawaiian by blood, or if you're Hawaiian by nature or proximity, you matter.
Yeah.
You definitely matter in rebuilding and seeing this, like you're saying, seeing what that's going to be like. And, I was talking to one person who I said, when you're ready to share your story. And she's like, sometimes I feel like it, sometimes I don't. Totally. And so, that's why, I do this interview style, but we also, we send this to folks and go, hey, if you want to share your story, shoot the video and then send it over, and we'll put it up, because people need different things. Like you said, we're in this different process at different times. So being super respectful, being honoring, and that's, I'm glad we can share this and do this together, friends. So
yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So this wraps up this episode of Hope for Hawaii, and you'll join us again, hopefully, for the next segment. We have other guests, but we're going to be joining Jackie again 2 more times, one while she's on the island and helping out folks, and then another time to share her experience afterwards and kind of process through and seeing how we can help more folks. So thank you for joining us, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Take care.
Wanted to take a second to congratulate you for taking the time for yourself, to filling up your soul, your heart with hope, joy, and resilience during this tough time. This has been Hope for Hawaii. Help support our mission to help those that need a little bit of hope and resilience right now in their lives. So like, share, and comment on what has resonated with you and what do you want to see next. If you have a story yourself that you want to share with the world, please go to hope4hawaii.com and share your story. Maybe we'll have you on the podcast next.